It's been a long day. Geralt of Rivia versus Ishamael from the Wheel of Time. Spoiler alert for the Wheel of Time and The Witcher. Let's go ahead and jump into comparing these two in the 7 categories: origin, development, role, interest for the reader, relationships, who would win in a fight, and if there's a tiebreaker that needs to happen, you fucking... First category, origin. Geralt of Rivia has a great origin. Witcher, brought up, trained, probably the best Witcher around, if not for sure the best Witcher around. Pretty much told for all of his life he's gonna be an emotionless pile of murder, but slowly kind of tries to grow out of that and starts caring about people and things. It's a wonderful origin, really heartfelt, and makes you care for the guy. I like it a lot, especially for the kind of more dark tone of the series, having someone who's going through such a good guy kind of transition into a more heartfelt person. It lends a nice balance to the series tone as a whole, and I really think it does a good job of helping balance out. I really think it helped. And I really think it helps the whole series overall in terms of balancing tone. Ishamael, on the other hand, his origin, not so happy. Basically, incredibly smart dude, logical conclusion, Dark One's gonna win. He has infinite chances, so eventually Dark One's gonna win. He gets super sad about it, decides to join the Shadow, becomes basically the best of the Forsaken, really powerful, becomes kind of a reflection of the Dragon Reborn, realizes they're going to be intertwined to fight for eternity. After the breaking, he kind of broke out from the Dark One's prison before everyone else. First, as many of you insist on commenting, and helped shape the land for the Dark One's return so that the next time this cycle would come, which would be Rand's cycle, the Dark One would go ahead and win as easily as possible. He broke Arthur Hawkwing's empire and did all kinds of cool, influential like that, and he's pretty dope overall. I like Ishamael quite a bit, even before he turns into Moradin. Really, these guys are equally awesome in their origins. Both of them reflect the series and help shape it in a great way. I can't really say one execution is better than the other, but the only one that has a big edge on impact is Ishamael. He has a much larger impact in the overall effect of the world. Geralt has never really done much outside of helping people on contracts and doing the kind of day-to-day Witcher things, but in the context of the world of what really matters, we're only ever following Geralt, so it really does have a large impact in that sense. But Ishamael has kind of an even larger impact in the global sense. So I don't really know what to do here. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this one a wash because they're both really dope. Geralt easily takes the cake here. Yes, Ishamael develops a lot, especially for a villain, probably the most of any villain in the Wheel of Time. He goes from insane to logical and back to his prime through the rebirth process the Dark One puts him through, and it's really great to watch and very interesting. But Geralt's development and the process at which he explores, and the process at which we kind of are introduced to his character really helps, really is sublime, and I enjoy almost every chapter of this guy slowly coming to the realization that he can have emotions and he can't be restricted to kind of just the Witcher way of life, even though he is so goddamn good at his job. So I'm going to give development point here to Geralt, mainly due to execution. It's wonderful. Role they play in the world they are in, and where Geralt stood a chance in some categories beforehand, here he falls upon his face. He is not really that important. He's watching over a chosen one, but there are others who could do it, and there are others who do it, and he doesn't do the best job of it. He loses her often. You turn around, and Moradin is really kind of shattering empires, and really in the greater scope of things, he's more influential in history than people like Arthur Hawkwing, because he's undoing all the things they have done. Well, debatably. I don't know. I'm going to say that and say it confidently. He is the most influential person on history from the Age of Legends because he breaks out and has such a massive impact. The only person who can rival him on impact would be the Dark One and maybe Rand and Luce Therin themselves. So I'm going to give the role point here, easy breezy, to Ishamael. Interest for the reader. Now, when it comes to interest, I am much more interested in villains than heroes typically, especially well-done villains, but that's a personal preference, and I can't let that influence this point. So outside of my personal preference there, I do think Geralt is just as interesting as Ishamael. They are a wonderful complement to each other in a lot of ways. Geralt is a more well-rounded character, which allows him to be more interesting to the reader on that basis alone. Ishamael, though, has much more influence on the world, and the impact of his actions can be felt in really large ways, kind of spiking the interest in that sense. But once again, when it comes to execution, execution. So much TLC is put into Geralt's character overall that I'm gonna have to end up giving him the interest point here, just because the amount of time we actually spend with him really Jesus, this is a mess. Yeah, the amount of time we spend with him, the connection the reader feels with Geralt is going to be greater than what anyone would feel with a villain. While I personally found Ishamael more interesting, realistically, for your average reader, I think Geralt takes this point. Now, relationships. Ishamael has some amazing relationships for a villain, especially the way he reflects with Rand himself, the other Forsaken, and the Dark One. I am a huge fan of it, and I think it's what makes him such an extraordinary villain for us, the reader, to follow. The fact that he kind of has this repertoire with different people that really reflects his ominous presence. That being said, it's not going to hold up to a main character of a really well-written fantasy series, because Geralt has just so much time put in his relationships, and as I covered in my Witcher reviews, relationships drive that series in massive ways and really lend to it growing as a whole. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and give Geralt the relationship point, because it's really remarkable how incredibly well done it is. Like, seriously, the relationships in The Witcher, if you haven't seen my reviews of it, are spectacular. I can't keep praising them enough. It's how the world is built, the characters are developed, and all these things. And while Geralt himself doesn't have the most depth of all time, the fact that there's this distinctive kind of vibe between every character that is different than every other character, it just works overall. So I'm giving Geralt the relationship point. And now we have who would win in a fight. Ishamael by a huge margin, like absurdly huge margin, like me fighting a one-armed baby that has no eyes margin. Yeah, Geralt's cool, he's got some tricks up his sleeve. Ishamael's on the same level as the Dragon Reborn and has the true source and all this stuff. So I'm pretty confident. Someone's gonna debate me in the comments, because someone always debates me with the who would win in a fight one. I'm gonna go ahead and say Ishamael here. Oh, it's empty, damn it. Now we have who would do better in the other's world. This is a point that I need to clarify. So who would do better in the other's world? It's not about who would be like at the higher power level, who would influence the world more. It's who fulfills their role as a character better. So Geralt, would he be a very good Witcher in the Wheel of Time world? Yeah, man. He would have Trollocs and Myrddraal to hunt to his heart's content, and Dark Friends to have free reign to kill as well, and probably have no issue killing them at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and say he would do a great job as a Witcher, like remarkably so. Like, Jesus Christ, he would have so many jobs. Just go to the Borderlands and join up with them. Go into the Blight. There's all kinds of creatures and stuff in there for you to kill. But would people pay him? Probably. I mean, there's Trollocs coming down more and more in the Wheel of Time series as the series progresses, and I think he'd get lots of jobs just kind of cleaning up. Bubbles of Evil he might have to deal with as well, but I think he'd be fine. But then there's Ishamael. How would Ishamael do in this world? Well, Ishamael would he would be God in the Geralt world, in the Witcher world. He would be someone on a power level they're just not used to. And it's because, like, yes, there is magic that is very powerful in the Witcher series, but not a lot of it is as blunt and direct as the Wheel of Time magic. And when it comes down to it in actual confrontations, Wheel of Time magic is much more effective than most magic systems. And he, assuming, as I said before, he's still going to have access to it, he would be incredibly well done, especially since I always put these characters in these scenarios in their peak form, and for him that would be Moradin, and having Moradin in the Witcher world, he would do godly, horrible, evil things. I don't think anyone could really stop him, and there'd probably be a lot of people willing to serve him. So he'd be able to be his own Dark One, which would be really nice for him. He'd probably start his own, like, company of evil people. He'd employ a bunch of people, and there'd be like 401ks and severances, and it would be great. So yeah, Ishamael wins the tiebreaker point that doesn't matter, but Geralt gets the victory. Ishamael is my favorite villain of all time for fantasy, like, by a lot. Like, he's wonderful. I enjoy him so much, but realistically, there's just not as much time given to him as there's been Geralt, and Geralt's overall character has been, developed and utilized by the author way more. So just, yeah, Geralt has an unfair edge here, and it gave him the win. Do I think he's better as a character? As a hero, discounting the whole hero-villain bias, yes, but including the, average villain versus the average hero, Geralt is not better above the average as much as Ishamael is way above the average for villains. This is just my rambly thoughts at this this point. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support my channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful start to your week. I hope a lot of you had a long weekend. Peace.